Hello out there, and thanks again for joining us. It's another edition of Public Conscience on Radio, an anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG, with support from the MacArthur Foundation. In the last episode, we talked about the costs of governance in Nigeria and anchored it on the monetary take-home by lawmakers at the National Assembly. We are still dwelling on it in this episode. And my colleague, my co-presenter, Chukwudi Okole Ugbaja, is right in here.
Glad to be here once again, and recall that many of the callers in the previous edition had considered 13.5 million naira per quarter for each senator as being on the high side. The slightly lower package for House of Representatives members was also criticized.
13.5 million naira per month, about 41 million naira per quarter. That is the take-home official, and this is despite the monies, that is monthly salary that is officially given to our senators and House of Representatives to take. And as the nation debates these allowances, which gets to 40.5 million for a particular senator and 30 million naira for each of the House of Representatives member per quarter, there are severance benefits of over 6 million naira and the allowance for furniture at another 6 million naira per legislator.
Let us recall that in spite of that 13.5 million naira monthly allowance, these lawmakers convened and after that went on 2 weeks break. And this in spite of the fact that all they are entitled to still will come in full.
That is what they do. Actually, they come in and they go on holidays at will. For instance, when the Night Assembly convened, just like Chukwudi said, recently, just as soon as they were sitting down, they were on a 2 weeks break. And when the month ends, they will get that 13.5 million naira. And it throws up many questions. Many critics of the cost of governance in Nigeria say the spending in the National Assembly is a child's play when you see the cost of running the executive arm of government.
And keeping up the faith with our viewer, with our listener, we have in this edition brought in somebody who's going to help us analyze the scenario, as it were. That is introducing Buala Daniels. He's a lawyer and public analyst, and we're welcoming him to Public Conscience on Radio.
A pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I want to quickly also tell you that he's not just a lawyer, he's not just a public affairs analyst, he's also a politician. That side we will leave for the other editions of the program. But for today, we are going to be taking a look at the cost of governance, and we are still anchoring on the National Assembly. I'm talking about the viewers that Chukwudi Okole Ugbaja talked about. We want to appreciate those who are also watching on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is PRIMOG TV. PRIMOG TV is our YouTube channel, and you can actually send us messages, drop messages after you have watched, and let us know exactly what the situation is. And for those who want to join us, just get ready, because the program is an interactive program. Those who want to join us, get your phones ready to send messages to on our WhatsApp platform, where we can quickly get your messages and read them. It's 090-2265-6167. And that is 090-2265-6167. This number is important, and we want you to keep it, because all the time, even after the program, you can send messages to us on any of the issues that bother us on development, democracy, and when it pertains to corruption, we are even willing to reflect on our programs what you have to say. That is 090-2265-6167. Let that message keep coming now, because we'll soon begin to take your messages, and then the calls will soon begin to come in when we open the pot. Now, but let's get to our guest, our distinguished legal practitioner here, Buala Daniels, a lawyer and a public affairs analyst. And like I told you, he has also ventured briefly into politics. I don't know if he will be encouraged to go back, but he's right in there. And welcome to the program again. Now, let's talk about the continued outcry. You know, there is a continued outcry over the cost of governance in Nigeria.
Right.
People say that the cost, what the president spends in the villa, what the agencies spend, and particularly the one that is open to everybody, what they spend in National Assembly is definitely outrageous. What do you think? What's your view? How do we reduce the cost of governance in Nigeria?
Well, thank you for having me. Of course, I think it's a known fact that Nigeria is running a bloated system of government from the top right to the bottom and in all the arms of the government, whether you're looking at it from the executive or the legislature or the judiciary. And the president, I think, raised this issue the first time when he was trying to limit the number of ministers to be appointed. And his point was that he was going to try as much as possible to limit the cost of governance. We will come back to the legislature and we'll try to compare them with legislatures around the world, and especially the United States. But I want to start by saying that we have developed a culture in Nigeria. I want to put it this way. Do I call it a culture of extravagancy? But most of the politicians who venture into politics in Nigeria go into the politics as though it is a business where you put in money and then you have return on investment.
Is it the system that encourages them to do this?
Yes, that's the foundation.
I want to take you to it now. I actually thought I don't want to talk about your participation in politics, but this is actually making me to quickly go into it. Mm-hmm. You wanted to be a senator. Right. You tried in different two constituencies, one in Borno and one in Abuja here. Yes. You tried to run a primary. Right. Is the cost induced by the system, the cost of your attempt to run?
It is. And if you want me to give my own personal encounter...
Yes, we will love that.
Okay, when I started, first of all, what motivated me to go into politics and especially targeting the National Assembly was because of the opinion I've always had that the democracy thrives not because of the executive but because of the legislature. Yes. Section 4 makes it clear that they exist to make laws for peace, order, and good governance. This is the true picture of a democratic society. And it is the law they make that the executive will execute.
Yes.
So if you make a bad law, the executive will
implement a bad law.
To implement a bad law. And then I look at the way our National Assembly was cumbered with mundane activities. Most of the bills, their motions, their proposals, and legislations that they were making at the time, in my opinion, were tailored towards themselves and their interests rather than the interests of Nigeria. So part of what motivated my action was I look at competition bill.
Instead of staying over, you wanted to go in there.
Yes, because I've always said that you can talk all you want. If you are not a participator, you cannot effect the change. So we can say all we want, we can move the people. And we've had that in Nigeria where masses were moved to the National Assembly. You see strong protest. And then the media will cover it for 1 week. And the lifespan of scandal in Nigeria is just...
Maybe 1 week.
Maybe 1 week. And if it goes beyond that, it's 2 weeks. You can say all you want. After 1 week, Nigerians have a habit of going to on to the next one. And so that one, it goes. But if you go in, you will be able to challenge the status quo. And this is the culture. Then I'll come back to it and then relate that with my experience. Coming to cost. If you look at the electoral law regarding restriction on the amount you can spend as a senator, with the amendment, the recent amendment, I think the highest is 200 million. But I can tell you that 200 million is a child's play.
Even the primaries.
Even the primaries. It's a child's play. When I made the decision, I didn't try to go to the
how much were you having in your post for a budget when you started?
At the time, I think I had about 11 million. But I was hopeful that I was going to... I was inspired by the life of Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. She's from the Bronx in New York. This was a lady who, before she emerged as a congresswoman, was working as a bartender. But they had a culture in America where you have what they call community organizing.
So you thought you were going to get support from?
Exactly.
From society?
From the society.
People who believe in you. Did you get any support?
I did. Although not massive.
Do donations really work here in this climate?
They do work, but they come like...
in trickles.
Yes. The way they come is like, they say church offering. So that's the way.
Let's go straight to the point, so that because of time, the fact is that what influence the members of those who go into politics is what influence their action when they get to the seat is partly what they have spent to get to that office.
Right.
Is it justifiable?
Having run, I have now found a reason not to condemn them. I condemn the system.
Oh, they were already converting you. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's only the system. Yeah,
the system. I will explain to you. I still don't believe we have to, we have to challenge the system and change it, and I will tell you why. I went to the grassroots and I spoke to them about my vision and my plans. I made it clear to them, I will not put money in your hand when I get to the National Assembly. I will put infrastructure on ground.
Yes.
They were listening. They nodded their heads, they expressed concern, and you will see them articulating their grievances,
Yes.
And when you finish, then they will know, so how much have you dropped?
Exactly.
So that means...
And you still need to buy drinks, you pay for transportation.
If it is transportation and drinks, then it's nothing, because this can be construed as just gathering the people. I'm talking about, you will see different types of groups. And then this group, they multiply the groups like the way ants come when they see sugar. So when they multiply the groups, it is not about you giving what is in your heart. It's about them telling you, the politician that was here before you gave 5 million for each group. And so if you have to break through, you have to up the ante.
Must you listen to every one of them?
So I refuse in a large extent. What I did was, organizations that have a purpose, I gave my contribution. Individuals that sat somewhere as power brokers that demanded money, I shunned them.
Yeah.
So when
was that your albatross?
I think so, because in the FCT on the day we had the primaries somewhere in Nyanya, I said, my people, we had about 250 women who said they wanted a change of the status quo, and they were lined up to vote for me. And then I got a call on the day, because I was in the office, all of my agents were everywhere, and they said, sir, these women that had indicated their interest to vote for you, they are now demanding money. Then I now say, explain to them the same thing I communicated to them and to everyone. Ours is to change. We cannot change by being part of the system, and we continue in the way things were done. So, and the agents I had there were quite, learned in the area of communication. And this is the story. They said when they communicated to them and were telling them what we were trying to do, changing, while they were talking, these people were changing position.
Because somebody must have brought in the money. Now let's come straight to the point of looking at the allowances.
Right.
How do we change the system? Because you have said the system actually should take the blame rather than the individual legislators.
Right. So
how do we change the system?
First, we need the amendment of electoral law in a 2-dimension. Dimension number 1 is to place a limit, which we have seen partly in the amendment they have done. And then the other one is to criminalize certain things that legislators will do. We have electoral law and electoral offenses. We have problem of enforcement because we have limitation of police and all that. So then we will open up the legislation in such a way that the Freedom of Information Act will have its full course, hands-on at the hand of either the media or individual. In other words, if I want to know what Mr. Okiria spent in his election, I don't have to beg the government. On first demand, it should be made available, and it should be open. There must be a website where the people critique it. I'll give you an example. I made a
just before you give the example,
okay.
How do you even know? How do you even know how much I have spent?
Good.
How do you even know how much I had to give money to the groups? They don't give receipts.
Right.
How do you even know how much I've spent?
So this is one problem. I had a conversation with the chairman of EFCC when we were talking about how will the EFCC take part in this drive to curb these excesses. So EFCC, what they do is any politician, and in my view, because I can't tell the details of their modus operandi, I don't even know. Now, if you are running for office, of course, your profile, isn't it? So that means all monies coming into your account and once going out, whether campaign account or individual account, can be traced. NFIU rule. So that is one. But the problem we have with the law is that most of these monies were not spent directly by the contestants.
That's what I'm telling you. The money, who is going to they transfer money through accounts? When they actually distribute dollars,
some of it is given
out dollars
at 12 midnight.
The streets.
So here's my view. Yeah. In my opinion, we have to educate our people to know enough is enough.
Okay, that's part of the education we are doing. Right. Just hold on, because it is important for us to accommodate those who are joining us, and it is important for them to know that we want their input.
Right.
We also want Nigerians to be carried along. Part of the essence of this program is to mobilize Nigerians to change the bad system, if there is any bad system that has been identified. And you can reach us now, 094 600 951. 080-959-74869 and 080-31-230-293. And For those who will send us a message on our WhatsApp, we already have some messages on our WhatsApp platform. Please keep them coming through 090-2265-6167. Let's see if we have some calls. Do we have some calls now? We don't have a call yet. And 094-600-951. We are talking about the cost of governance. We are looking at... Okay. Hello. Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Area.
Good morning, sir. Your name and where are you calling from? And then you just go straight to the point.
Yes, my name is Mike. When wind blows.
When wind blows.
Yes.
The wind is blowing now. Seriously. Go ahead, please.
Yes, my point, the way out of what people are trying to talk here about how we handle this election irregularities and all of that is, let us make all the political offices bring them under the minimum wage. Mm-hmm. So that the attraction to getting the office, first of all, will be discouraged. All these people are doing so desperate and doing all these things to get it because of the money that is inside.
That's right.
But that will bring all of them under minimum wage. You see, most of the people in the government will not agree. That's my take.
Let everybody earn minimum wage so that it is service they are coming to provide.
It should be maximum wage.
Minimum
wage means you are setting up a limit, they can go further. Maximum wage is an amount they cannot exceed.
You can't exceed.
You cannot exceed that.
You set a ceiling.
Yes.
What do you think should be okay?
I agree with him 100%. It's part of what I wanted to talk about. In America, the politicians are part-time politicians. The congressmen are part-time congressmen. You have what you're doing for a living.
Okay, let's take more calls.
Right.
Hello.
Let's start it there.
Yeah, and just before the call comes in, good morning, crew. The National Assembly should prove to Nigerians that they are leaders, not rulers, by reducing their monetary packages,
Excellent.
which always take a larger percentage of our budget. Donatus. You didn't tell us where you are. You sent this from, but that came in from Donatus. We have somebody else on the line. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
You and your guest.
Thank you so much.
This is Sarah.
Sarah, thank you for joining us. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think, like a colleague there said, all the politicians,
the guests, yes.
Politicians, what he said actually is the truth, and we don't know how to bring that in. Because it's easier it's easier said than done. Because if actually Nigeria really wants to change from that old habit, they would have done that by now. Even after preaching, even after going from door to door to let them know that this thing will have to change it, now we have good governance. If you on your own, decide that you want people, responsible men and women, and not charlatans, that will have people who are, technocrats, people who have this spirit, to lead us, to make us happy. Because honestly, the populace in Nigeria, we're not happy. We're not happy at all. But the truth is that I know. What about those of them who live in rural areas? What about those of them who, in our country, religion and culture play a lot of roles? And then propaganda does the others. How can they learn? How can they know and learn from what our politician is talking about right
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, a call has come in.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
Go on, please.
Yeah, this is Comrade Imadi Connection. Maybe the mission go one top on the FM. There we go.
Oh, we are still listening, please. Go on.
Regarding to what your colleague said this morning, in fact, politics of these days is all about money and money. I work with one or two politicians, top politicians, and till today I see that what the followers need is money. Without money, in fact, I think you are wasting your time. But I think in other foreign countries, these are not the way they follow their own politics. You understand me, sir? But in the case of Africa, especially in Nigeria, before someone will come out to vote for you, or even a grandmother self that will come out to even exercise a franchise as a citizen, they will require you to give him money. And I love what my chairman said last year election during his campaign, where some group of youth came to meet him to demand for money for campaign and organizing of some youth.
But how do we really stop this? When you say the followers, it's money, how do we stop it?
We can stop it by there is a different way to stop it, Mr. Speaker. And see, let me tell you, if you vote for me because of money,
yes,
when I get there, I will not answer you again. Are you getting me? Because number one is that you have already bribed, you have already paid you for your job.
And you think that that one will discourage them from collecting money from you next time?
No. That is one of the points I'm just raising. And the second one is that we have to enlighten the people more in time of what the politics is all about, what the leadership is all about.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It seemed from your explanation when we started that compliance is being sought through coercion. It takes me to, where are the politicians of gravitas, integrity, we should expect as they come in? Must it be a law that restrains our men from doing that which is in the general, in the public interest?
So here is my expectation. The complaint we had at the time in 2015 was that we didn't have cooperation of the National Assembly. This amendment we're talking about cannot emanate from the National Assembly. It's like
asking you to cut off your head. Yeah,
exactly. It will come by way of executive bill. So I expect the president, who has emphasized this, reducing the cost of governance, to send executive bill to them, and then challenge APC senators in the National Assembly who say they are agents of change to see how they respond to this amendment for a change. Because congressmen in America have to sleep in their offices because they can't afford to pay for accommodation in Washington, D.C. You don't find one legislator weekend. They all go back to their constituency because it's expensive. In Nigeria, there is no part of the world a Nigerian legislature cannot stay in the topmost hotel. And yet we are impoverished. We do not have anything. So now, compliance is one problem.
Let me just stretch that, sir.
Right.
Does the president have any moral ground to present to an executive bill to the National Assembly when the cost of running the executive itself is embarrassing? With the cost of feeding in the villa alone, the cost of maintaining the aircraft, the cost of running the various ministries and departments.
Okay, now
will he have a good moral ground to say, look, reduce your cost when himself is not doing so? Because one of those who I just sent it, Solomon from Gwagwalada said the emphasis should be on the president himself to reduce the cost of running the executive. We should look at the convoy of the president and we see how much goes in there.
So I give you an example. I agree with the point, but let me explain. One, when the president came on board, there were 5 presidential fleets. He ordered for the selling of 2. That's a good step, right? So here is the point I'm going to criticize the executive. Feeding and some of these other costs. Then I will now juxtapose that with America. There are aspects of the nation that you don't probe further. Aspects relating to security. That's why in states, governors use that as advantage to siphon funds. They call it security vote. Because you're not supposed to know the estimate, the capacity of a government to protect itself. So the president haven't taken the first step by saying that he's reducing ministries, compressing ministries and giving them under in order to reduce the cost of governance, should further look at the cost of governance in the villa. But it's not going to happen by the president saying, I want it. I expect, to be honest, the EFCC, that is like a watchdog in all aspects of the economy, to then look into expenses in the villa. I remember there was a time the wife of the president was heard to have lamented the money that was voted for Villa Clinic. And that herself was ill. She went to Villa Clinic, couldn't find a syringe.
Yeah.
There is no communication as to, one, whether EFCC sprung into action to investigate. So that will be a minus for any executive when you're unwilling to act fast.
Let's see if we have more calls. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Abubakar from Florida.
Thank you so much, Abubakar. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think the solution should be like somebody suggested we have a maximum wages for every worker. Like, it's not like the ministry that is minimum wage that you pass in all states or all over the country. Because if I believe we have a maximum wage for everybody, both the executive, both the judiciary, and the legislature have to key on it. Without that, we cannot go anywhere. Let there be a synergy that this is what it is, this is what it is. Because there's no transparency everywhere. There's no way you can come this emphasis on study without transparency. I think we should just harmonize that. If even in the ministry, if I director this amount, let's know how much you earn, like in the developed world. We know if I'm a journalist, we know how much is my take home. But in Nigeria, we don't know. The secrecy is too much. That is why so far even the corruption is very difficult.
Thank you.
In a bigger picture, it's not even the 30 million which they earn that is the problem as far as the National Assembly is concerned. It's about constituency project. So what they would tell you is that when monies are voted for constituency project, they are merely legislator. It is the MDAs that implement the constituency project and not them. If you probe in Nigeria, what are the companies executing the constituency project? Either they are direct companies of the legislators or of their cronies, of their friends. This is without prejudice to the fact that less than 1/4 of the constituency project is being done or has been done since 1999 till today. If you want to catch a legislator, let EFCC focus on his constituency and see. Some senators, the last time we had this thing out on the social media of how a senator got 800 million in his constituency. The only thing you could find in the constituency was borehole.
Okay, let's just quickly take, because our colleagues also went to the street to find out what the situation is with the people. How do they see this? We always take the pain to go to the streets to find out what Nigerians think about this situation. Let's hear them out.
Is the cost of governance really our problem? Do you understand? What is really our problem? The point of contention is the corruption that goes in the government. If you want to reduce the cost of governance, it will far deepen the amount of corruption that will be going on in the system. So it's not reducing the cost of governance as the issue, but eliminating whatsoever that could emanate corruption in the system.
You need to first of all understand the aim why the allowances is being allocated to them. The allowance is allocated to them for them to be able to develop their constituency. But looking at it from the context of Nigeria, you just discover that when they are being given these allowances, they use it for their personal gains, which is not supposed to be so. So when you talk about reducing it, even when you reduce it, it doesn't create any effect. Where is the money that is being cut down from that monthly allowance? Where is it going to?
Can't be giving such money to National Assembly and expect the country to run smoothly. We go borrowing money from here and there, trying to run the country. I mean, it's not reasonable for you to carry our money and give a certain people who just go to sit down and make laws. When bad things happen, they say we condemn it.
Whenever they call their salary, they should channel it to the ministries, or they should create an enabling environment and use the money for that place so that the unemployed youth can get job.
I don't think there is any rationale in reducing the allowances. The prudency of governance has nothing to do with reducing the allowances of members of the House.
Of course, when you listen to Nigerians in this mood, when you listen to Nigerians speak on the street, it also shows how much understanding that they have.
That's it.
Like you said, and one of the respondents actually said so that we need a lot of education. To tell the people don't even know.
No, yeah. For example, look at one of them was misplacing allowances for constituency project.
Yes.
The 13 million is not for constituency project. Actually, if legislators, lawmakers in Nigeria actually run their constituency office, the money is justifiable. Because you have to have a functional office,
yes,
state-of-the-art equipment, staff there, you have to fund them. That's where the constituency people will come and lodge complaint. I was in a constituency in the U.S., South Dakota, of Senator John Thune. It's like a secretariat. So if they actually have constituency office, the money is justifiable. That's not where the National Assembly make their money. Apart from the 13, look at the amount of securities that they pay for them, the security, the aids, and the rest, and the constituency project. So I agree with the other speaker who is saying that if corruption is checked and the constituency project are actually executed without these lawmakers, cornering it back to themselves, then it is justifiable in the circumstance.
All right, let's take more calls. Let's take more calls. If you are listening to us and you want to chip in something, please make it very, very fast. 60 seconds. Do we have somebody on the line now? Hello. Hello.
It's gone. It's not there.
Hello.
Good morning.
Okay.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Adebayo from Airport Road.
Go ahead.
Please, I want us to do more of reality rather than talk. Okay? There is no way somebody that is corrupt will be able to fight corruption. All the ministries, whether state or federal, all of them are spending extravagantly. They spend more than what they're supposed to spend. So it's like reporting a criminal to a criminal. What we should dwell more on the National Assembly by making law. I'm encouraging individual senator or House of Reps to initiate law that will do the work, because everywhere there is much spending. You see, the governor that will tell the commissioner and the state to reduce the spending, while official cars are lying down in his own house.
So your belief is that it should be made difficult, the process of taking these monies.
It's going to be difficult because all of them are guilty of the same offense we are talking about.
Now,
Thank you so much.
That's why you have the National Assembly actually come here. Can they actually bob their own head?
What I'm saying is that individual, I know all of them cannot be the same, but individual among the National Assembly, we can see one or two. Then they should come together. I know it's not going to be easy for them. We'll make a such a bill.
All right,
with the support of the masses and here and there, then they can scale through.
Okay, let's take more calls. Let's see if we have people who agree to that. Hello. Hello.
The guy was looking for a few good men who will become a catalyst.
Yeah.
Oh yes, and it's not far-fetched. It can happen.
Yeah.
I think the question actually goes to that's the suggestions actually go to the root of what we are talking about. Can the National Assembly, with the kind of interest in the public fund that it can they, on the moral ground, begin to check the executive? Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
This is Kingsley calling from Central Area.
Go ahead, Kingsley.
So I want to appreciate every one of you there. If we could have this kind of program in our station for 2 to 3 hours every day to help the people. So I believe that it's not going to be an easy fight because of poverty rate, unemployment, and all other issues affecting an average Nigerian. But I think we can start with more sensitization like you guys are doing now, because the more information that reaches the masses, the more better aware they become, which makes it difficult for politicians to easily, win them to their side. So if I know my right, I know what is obtainable in my community, I will know what to stand for. So I think in the area of education, mass sensitization is very key. Not fighting corruption.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, who is there? Just let us take one more call. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you. And go straight to the point. Let's see if we can do 30 seconds.
Okay. I think the problem is this: the National Assembly, sees Nigeria as a big cow that everybody can cut from. You cannot be, talking about the reducing what they earn without talking about the ministers. So that is why I think they should start from the presidency and the ministries, because they are looking at what the ministers are earning. Congress of them who run for election. So I think the way forward is the restructuring. There is no two way about it. There is too much money in the center, and everybody is grabbing his own. When this country is restructured and there is no that too much money in the center, I think all these things will reduce.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, what a resounding one.
Let me quick. Okay.
Yes, just is there another one on the line? Let's take the one on the line. We'll come back to you.
All right.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello.
Yeah, go on. Go ahead, please. Good morning.
Yeah. Morning. My name is Jamal.
Go ahead.
Yes. I would like to contribute this way.
Please, you have just 30. You have just 30 seconds, sir.
Oh, 30 seconds.
Yes.
Oh, there. Okay. Let me just chip in like this. Earlier you spoke about the election, and I listened to your guest talking about the agent and all that, and the half 30 seconds. I was looking at it in a way like, and the senior president has even said we should look into
in correcting our elections. I look at it in a way like we make it a more national thing, hence Nigerians seems to love inducement on election day and incorporate it to like every Nigerian is eligible to vote on that day. Giving an allowance of 5,000 naira to come and vote, which is the range of the money that the politicians do leak out on those occasions. And you'll find a way of weaving out this politician trying to pay Nigerians.
So how do we pay all the electorate who will come out and vote? Okay, thank you. That's a very unique suggestion. Yeah. We have somebody else. Let's just take that one. Then we'll come to our guest so that we'll be wrapping up. Hello.
Yeah, let me go. This is Sarah calling back.
Okay, Sarah.
So, like I said...
Just take 30 seconds, ma'am.
Yes. I think we are blaming the National Assembly too much. Everybody wants to talk about it. Let's talk about the executive, please. I think I don't agree with one of the judges who said that when he came in he had to send some aircraft. I think Nigerians were shouting then. I remember I was among, we were shouting. He said you are coming to the change matter. Do something different. Because every time we always have this habit of blaming the National Assembly. Even when the judicial and the National Assembly try to make laws that we even had before, the executive is always upside down. Every time we have that like every time to blame the
all right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sarah. So let's listen to you.
The quick step to checkmating that is that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the ICPC should create what they call a task force monitoring unit. The task force monitoring unit should be saddled with the responsibility of checkmating and going through all the constituency projects. For example, if monies are devoted for the creation of constituency office and certain project, the task force monitoring team for every single lawmaker in Nigeria at the national, they will look at whether or not, because they have their offices, that office was established. Whether or not that project was executed.
Whether they employed their aides.
Whether they employed their aides.
Because they say they are going to employ 5 aides, but you see that this they don't employ, they demonetize. Now this brings us to the question, as we are going to be wrapping up. Is this systemic way that will legitimize monies given to the people, do you see it as a way of really legitimizing corruption, legitimizing what is not supposed to be, and both whether at the executive or at the National Assembly, they take huge money. We know that they don't spend it, but we leave them. Is this way a way of legitimizing what ought not to be given to the political office holders?
Obviously, it is. In fact, it is obviously the case. Now, do you know? This is one of the senators was telling me. I won't disclose his name. In the last administration of Jonathan, before this administration, he was telling me the reason why this administration is lackluster in getting National Assembly move effectively in passing laws is because in the days of Jonathan, bills come with dollars. So bills come with dollars and they get cleared and passed, but that this government is stubborn.
They don't want to spend money.
They just send bills without money. And this thing was created by Obasanjo. So if you want to stop, we have to also look at that. Now, somebody mentioned ministers. Task Force Monitoring Unit will also checkmate even ministers and ministries. Related to the issue of restructuring, I wish we would have a time. I'll give you a perspective on restructuring. What the governors have done is to brainwash the people into calling for quick restructuring without certain amendment of the constitution. If you restructure and carry all of the money, you are still giving it to the governor. You are not giving it to the man who is crying.
The restructuring should be restructuring the system.
The system.
And along with the political structure that we are looking at.
Well, the local government funds are going directly to them now.
Now, good. So that is a good plus,
That's
right?
part of it.
Then how do you check whether all of the money goes to the local government chairman?
And whether the local government chairman also spend the money for the purpose of which it goes to them? Are you just democratizing corruption?
That's it. So people, when they mention that, what they're actually saying is democratize corruption. Here's my point. Restructuring is the way forward, but this is what must happen before restructuring.
First things first.
Amendment of the certain parts of the Constitution, like Section 308, there are certain criminal liability, you take it away. The governor will not have immunity. Use of talks, use of the machinery of the state against opposition, laundering of the monies belonging to the treasury of the state. If you take that one, If the governor is found wanting in any of this, he can be prosecuted even while in office. If you do that, carry the whole country and restructure.
But you'll be distracting him, indeed.
Let me tell you, in America and the rest of the other places, apart from the president, this is work. Distracting like how? If, for example, I file and I will lay a complaint against you that you stole money, you are the governor. I'm not the one that will prosecute you. Law enforcement will look at it. And they cannot take you without finding evidence to charge you. Otherwise, there is criminal malicious prosecution. If you use machinery of the talks of
the first step is to remove this immunity that is preventing anybody looking into what they are doing.
Not all immunity, certain parts
of the immunity.
Exactly.
Then look at the so-called security votes, and the EFCC should do something.
Yeah, like security. For example, if it's in America, they can probe into security votes by the intelligence committee of the national, their Congress. Our intelligence committee, what do they do even about security problem in Nigeria? Do you know what committees do in the National Assembly? They are broke, they summon a minister or ministry or DG.
Or head of paracetamol.
Yes, have one or two dramas that is covered by the media, money change hands, and then the matter is over. We will hardly see specific changes. So that monitor, and it must be a zero tolerance approach.
Okay. Last week we also ran this program, and usually we also go back to see those few mails that come in. And that will be Oboyabumo is here with us, and she will now quickly run through 2-3 mails that we have. 2-3. That will be.
Our first mail is from Dennis Ali from Abuja, and he says, Nigeria should adopt a part-time legislative system as full-time legislature is too expensive for the nation. And our last mail is from Sabiwo from Suleja, and he says, I want to appeal to the government to focus on good governance and reduce the allowances of legislators so as to get the confidence of the public. Otherwise, posterity will question them. Many thanks for your mails. Keep them coming through info@primark.org or call 0902-265-6167. Like, subscribe, and drop your comment on our YouTube channel at Primark TV.
We will be giving a last opportunity for our guests to wrap up. You raised the issue of lawmakers doing this because there's some kind of merchandising, starting with the people. The expectation of monetary,
units,
money given to a potential electorate.
Monetizing.
It's a problem. So already the people themselves have a problem. You want to talk on that as a wrap up?
In America, a lawmaker is only entitled to 2 aides. One.
How many are we entitled to here? 5.
I think they have about 4, 5. And this money is hardly go to these poor aides. It still comes back to him. Then what about the security? What of number of cars? In England, if you have more than 2 cars, the first one, the second one is heavy tax on it. They teach you how to live a sane life. In the other day, you see a senator who went to the National Assembly with 3 sets of G-Wagon, bragging about it. Another lawmaker went to another lawmaker and was saying, in fact, you hardly can walk into the house because it's filled with cars.
All right, we just need to wrap up now because our time is up. But remember that you can keep on sharing with us your views on this program. 090-2265-6167. That is 090-2265-6167. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. That is Primorg TV. Primorg is Primorg. Primorg. And you also want to drop us a message at info@primorg.org. info@primorg.org. We need to appreciate our guest for coming on the program.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you for listening to us.
And on behalf of my colleagues here, my name is Okiri Agbonsuremi, on behalf of Chukwudi Okolo-Gbaja and Adaobi Oboyabumo, as well as my guest, Daniel Boala. We want to thank you for being part of the program. And remember to join us same time next week for another edition of Public Conscience, supported by the Makato Foundation.